Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is Monday, June 25th, 2018. Hope everyone's having a great Monday evening. Let's get started into some space weather news here at SPACEWEATHER.com. Take a look at our solar wind speeds. We're sitting at 409.3 kilometers per second with a density of 14.6, that is. Looking at AR 2715, it is now decaying and poses no threat for any solar flares. Sunspot number 16, that has jumped down significantly. We were as high as 51 on the sunspots. And before I move along, I wanted to show you guys this real quick. The twin rainbow. If you guys go to spaceweather.com, beautiful pictures. I wanted to show this off just because I've never seen a twin rainbow like this before. And I was reading the article earlier, and I thought it was really interesting how of all these years, they've reported these since the 17th century, and these are probably the biggest mystery as far as what causes these twin rainbows to happen. So just thought this was a neat anomaly and wanted to share with everybody real quick. All right, we were looking at sunspot number 16. Take a look at our KP indices. We are at a 3 with a 24-hour max of 3. Looking at the SDO, and right now we're looking at this beast of a coronal hole in the southern region and parts of the equatorial region. Now it is Earth-facing today, so we will expect, and it's looking pretty good for a geomagnetic storm on the 27th of June. We could see solar wind speeds exceed anywhere from the 550 to the 650 kilometers per second. So we'll keep our eyes open for that and let you know what's going on. That is actually the 27th will be on a Wednesday, so we will be broadcasting in the afternoon as well as tomorrow too. Take a look at our TSI reading for June 17th, 2018. We are sitting at a 1360.73. Again, we're not seeing hardly any movement in the TSI, and it feels like for this last several months, we had two peaks of 1360.8 that happened within days of each other, and since then, it's been kind of quiet. And I was reading this article here, and there's a couple of important points that I want to bring up with this, but it's interesting to find that recalculating some things here, and they have found that the coldest place on Earth is colder than they had thought. Now, they thought that we were looking at, and then it's for you, it may not be that big of a difference, but 93 degrees Celsius, negative by the way, was what we thought was the coldest temps. Now we're talking about negative 98 Celsius, which is about minus 144. The article is very interesting. It reads about several areas that are recording these new crazy low temperatures that we're getting now. It talks about what we need to have for this kind of cold weather to happen, and basically to be as plain as text as I can about this, but they need to see periods of incredibly dry air allows the heat from the surface of the snow to radiate into space more easily. This also goes for clear skies as well. So the drier the air, the less water vapor that is in the atmosphere, which also, when you take out water vapor, you're also dealing with colder temperatures as well. But I found it interesting that we're seeing temperatures as cold as 145 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, and only because of the movie The Day After Tomorrow do I know this, but 150 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit is where fuel will freeze in fuel lines. So interesting, if the surface temperatures are that low, you can only imagine how cold it is to actually fly in that air down there as well. I'll leave the link in the description. I just thought I'd share this as a little bit more nugget of we are colder than what we thought. And I like the very beginning. It says, from the AGU in the but the continent is melting department. I love this website. Anthony Watts does a great job. He's got guest speakers that come in and write articles. Home Climate Depot. Climate Depot also has similar articles that match up with this page. So a lot of times you'll find articles that are hand in hand and maybe a little bit more in depth on the Climate Depot page as well. But either way, this is a good resource here for anyone who is trying to learn about what's going on right now with the climate and how cold it's getting. Speaking of cold, significant cold break affecting Europe, 7.9 inches of fresh snow in the Alps, major water spout outbreak. And I'll tell you something, I know about you guys, but on my Facebook feed, I am subscribed to Severe Weather Europe, and I see about 3 to 5 water spouts a day. But here we go. After a pretty warm and locally hot May, courtesy of the omega blocking pattern, Europe experienced quite a significant pattern change last week through a deep trough and cold outbreak pushed far south from Scandinavia across East Central Europe. Now, here is the anomaly map, and it shows us here what we're looking at in the region. Again, this is how much colder the air is going to get, not actual temperatures. So these darker blues are just showing you how far below average that we're looking at temperatures, and that's a pretty big chunk of Europe. Now, if you guys notice up in the UK, quite different for you, a big heat wave. In fact, I'll talk about that here just in a little bit. But I wanted to point out these anomalies real quick. That way folks would understand that these aren't freezing temperatures here. These purples are not below zero temperatures. The purples that you see represent anywhere from a -12 to a -16 below average, but still quite chilly for this time of year. And just another run of it here, but they were talking about the 8 inches of snow that was reported at the ski resort in Austria the morning of the 25th. Look at that. Like a balmy winter's day. Also, looks like more snowfall was reported at the Kradarsija. Elevation is 2514 meters, which is about 8,250 feet in the Julian Alps, northwest Slavonia. So snow everywhere. Let's see if we can get some action here. Oh yeah, looking like a winter wonderland. Hey folks, and just so you know, today marks 6 months exactly till Santa Claus is coming to town. So I know these snow pictures have got you thinking about Christmas in June. Also, talking real quick about the water spout outbreak. June 25th produced a major water spout outbreak off the coast of Rimini in northern Italy, as well as 10 water spouts reported during the morning hours. And like I said, it just seems like the news feed has been a common place for this right here, these water spouts. Northern Italy has had some weird, I mean, you talk about from water spouts to extreme flooding. Here's another water spout. Huge water spout off the coast. Over 10 this morning. Here it looks like we have some hail. Yes. Cleaning up after a hailstorm that had hit. So they've seen it all. They've seen flash floods, and then here's some noctilucent clouds. This is over Poland on June 23rd. Just some beautiful pictures to look at. Similar weather is expected through the end of June into early July, with a few more cold outbreaks expected in the first 10 days of July. Speaking of that, Judah Cohen has tweeted out today. I should have put that part of our feed tonight, but Judah Cohen once again predicting cooler temperatures to the northeastern United States, and as well in Western Europe and Central Europe. The second week of July, we are expecting cooler temperatures to affect those regions. And I can tell you right now, just by looking at some of these outlooks, they're not too far off from being correct. Leave a link in the description. Watchers, again, extremely heavy rains, floods Mumbai, killing at least 4 people. It seems like every day now we're looking at stories about landslides and monsoon rains. And here's another Indian state, estimated about 12.4 million people living here. It says here in 24 hours, June 25th, a weather station in Santa Cruz Observatory in Mumbai recorded a staggering 9.11 inches of rain. almost half the average amount expected during the entire month of June. They get a lot of rain, so this is not unheard of to see 9 inches of rain, but not in 24 hours. Again, this is a half month's worth of rain here in June. This is the first extremely heavy rainfall recorded in Mumbai in the current season. The rain intensity has gone up since yesterday afternoon and is expected to continue further, he says. Taking a look at some of the images here in town. We have flash floods washing away roads, just like we saw in Michigan. Actually, this is minor compared to what we saw in Houghton, Michigan. It says 2 people were killed and 5 were injured on June 24th after being hit by a fallen tree. In a separate incident, a young boy died after falling into an open pit in the suburb of Malad. The 4th casualty is a child killed when a wall of its home collapsed on June 25th. It says here another severe incident occurred in Mumbai's Wadala area where a large section of a wall at an apartment complex collapsed, crushing at least 20 parked vehicles. Luckily, there were no casualties reported. The city's civic body and firemen evacuated the entire wing of the building, home of several bankers and businessmen. I guess they had to throw that in there. We have some white-collar people who are being affected as well, not just your typical average human being here. They too go through tragedy. Leave the link in the description. Lots of flooding again. Just pictures of more devastation across the region. And severe storm destroys 430 homes in central Darfur camps. That's in Sudan. And it says here, high winds accompanied by rain that lasted all night. The destruction of 430 homes in 6 Zelingi. Let's go with Zelingi. I like that. Zelingi camps. Yeah, we'll try that one. El Shaf Abdullah, the coordinator of Central Darfur camp, said that 140 houses were destroyed at a Hamdillah camp at Hashisha. A large number of families have lost everything and are now in the open, Abdullah said. He appealed to the benevolent of humanitarian organizations to help urgently, especially those who are affected. And this is just limited information right now, a little bit of pictures of the terrain of the area that we're talking about right now. But again, over 430 homes were destroyed. And no reports of any kind of injuries yet or death. So that's about the only silver lining in this story right now. But again, once again, talking about flash floods, heavy rain. Thought this could make the headlines tonight. Shallow earthquake registered by the EMSC. An M5.5 earthquake hit near the coast of southwestern Peloponnese, a peninsula in the southern Greece. This hit on June 25th, 2018, a depth of 5 miles. And the one thing about this is that apparently there were no immediate reports of serious damage or injuries, official says, but several aftershocks were felt afterwards. The earthquake had a long duration, and initially we were worried. The mayor of the town, Pylos, told the Greek reporter. Pylos is located about 20 miles northeast of the epicenter. Local reports several earthquakes minutes apart, and these were just likely aftershocks, and nothing expected to be stronger to this point. The 2 aftershocks that were measuring a 2.9 and a 3.0 in the same area that hit around 6:07 and 7:02, so about an hour apart. So just thought I'd report that. We did have a 5.5 today off the coast of Greece. Link will be in the description. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's take a look at this one first. Large landspout tornado touches down near Griffin, Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan. Is that what it is? Saskatchewan. Sasquatchian. I thought maybe in Canada it was just, a breed of people, maybe. I thought Griffin was a last name and he was a Saskatchewan. But apparently it's... just another manic Monday. A large lounge... Now I can't even talk. This happens every week. The beginning of the week, I pronounce Saskatchewan. Sasquatchewan. Let's just call it Sasquatchian.
Carry on.
So anyway, there was a landspout tornado. It was on the ground for about 10 minutes. Local time was 17:45 UTC, or actually that was just military time. People here in this area, basically, you need to get inside the house when you see tornadoes. Some of these folks have never seen a tornado in this area, and you could see hail and debris flying around as far away, and that tornado is nowhere near them. Reading in this article, they were like, yeah, we were going to go in the basement if it got any closer, but these people didn't realize that it was dangerous to be out there filming this. Now, it was at F0, which is the weakest possible tornado out there, but again, this is an area of the world that's not used to seeing tornadoes this time of year or any time of the year, so I just thought I'd mention that tonight. Unfortunately, I don't know how to pronounce their town. Saskatchewan. Stop it. I like Sasquatchian. All right, so the UK, as I was talking about earlier, Europe is going to get cold, but UK is actually going to have some very hot weather and a heat wave set to last through this weekend. A heat wave will affect millions across the United Kingdom this week as temperatures will soar well above normal into this weekend. While above normal warmth has prevailed across the entire UK so far in June, the most intense and prolonged heat of the month will occur this week. Monday became the hottest day of the year so far as temperatures reached 29.4 degrees Celsius. That's almost 85 here in the States. The mark will be in jeopardy to fall again this week as temperatures continue to trend higher across the country. And it says we will see unseasonably warm temperatures as much as 5 degrees Celsius. That's 9 degrees Fahrenheit. High temperatures across Greater London are forecasted to reach or surpass 27 degrees Celsius each day into Saturday. The typical high during the city at this time of the year is around 69 degrees Fahrenheit. So, about 11 degrees warmer than what it usually is. And that's a lot more heat than these folks are usually used to. And it's going to last for a few days, not only here in UK, but we are also looking at a dangerous heat wave to broil the northeastern U.S. this weekend through the 4th of July holiday, especially up here. I know we have our local weather people talking about this, and we're looking at 2 days in the 90s up here in the Buffalo region. But here we go. A significant heat wave will build and air quality will deteriorate over the northeastern United States this weekend and is likely to last into July 4th. In the northern part of the nation, heat wave is defined as 3 days in a row with high temperatures above or at 90 degrees. There is a potential for many locations to have highs well into the 90s over a 3 to 5 day stretch. We are going to be in that. We're 2 days where we're 87 and 88 and then 90 and then 93. So we're going to be close to that. The real field temps are going to be in the hundreds. 100 to 110, reduced air quality, higher energy demand. Well, except a lot of people up here in the Northeast don't have central air and heating. It just doesn't get that kind of hot up here, guys. We got the coolness of the lake that keeps things kind of nice here. I know today was absolutely gorgeous. 74 degrees, sunny out, no humidity. And when the wind blew, you could feel a slight coolness to the breeze. So, I mean, if you had to be outside today, this was the best kind of day to be outside as far as doing outdoor work or whatnot. So we're looking at a heat wave in the northeast and eastern mid-Atlantic parts of the United States. Also in the UK, we're going to heat up as well throughout this week into the weekend. But interestingly enough, across Europe, we're going to be looking at colder than average temperatures. And also for the northeast, this is going to be short-lived. We will see temperatures cool off into the 70s after the 4th of July. So we're going to be baking here for the next several days after Wednesday of this week. And then after the 4th, 5th of July, we'll cool back down into the 70s once again. And we've already read that one. All right. I don't know if I went over this one or not. I think I had it up for Wednesday of last week, and we didn't have a show that day. I wasn't feeling very well. But I read this, and this is a group of senators here. Ted Cruz is leading the charge here. Rand Paul, and James Lankford and Jim Inhofe. Now, Jim Inhofe is actually a gentleman who is actually pictured second next to Ted Cruz, but he is the guy that some of his colleagues are calling on to replace Pruitt with. So it's good to see this gentleman who is involved with this. And what's going on here, these senators would like to audit this particular, this grant that was being passed out here. And it says here, 4 Republicans say that $4 million program to boost climate reporting by meteorologists is not science, but propagandizing. Propagandizing. That's it. Jeez, looks weird. Anyway. 4 Republican senators called Wednesday for an investigation of National Science Foundation grants, saying that the federal agency had ventured beyond science into political advocacy, particularly with its support of a program to encourage TV weathermen to report on global warming, which that is happening. This is not fake news at all. I spoke with the meteorologist from Weather Nation, Steve Glazer, I believe his name is. And, you know, he immediately expressed that he still had a lot to learn when it comes to climatology. But the reason why he stood with global warming, and it was almost like he was forced to pick that side. And the way he worded it was, I'm all about taking care of the planet, so that's where I stand. That's why I'm not. He made it sound like he wasn't really convinced 100% on either cooling or warming or man-made or not. So he picks a safe category by just saying, I like taking care of the planet, so that's why I'm doing this. But it is happening. We are seeing these mainstream weather people. It's happening here in Buffalo, where now all of a sudden they're posting articles to social media about man-made global warming. Here is the letter that's actually sent to the National Science Foundation, and they lay it out, folks. This is no quick read, and you might be asking yourself, this is what they're looking for: wrongdoings. Did the funding of any of the grants above, or dismission of the findings constitute engagement of political activity using government resources? Did the issuance of grants constitute violation of the Hatch Act or any other law, federal regulation, both government-wide and specific to NSF, governing political activity? What does the standard for NSF use to ensure that political research such as that described above is not granted approval to receive federal tax dollars? And I want to go back to this because this pretty much, the writer here puts, I have no problem with groups providing what they think is climate education, but they should do it on their own dime. They shouldn't send the bill to taxpayers for propaganda efforts which undermine government policy. And that's a very good point. I don't think it's fair that the American taxpayers have to pay. Basically, you're paying for your own brainwashing is what's going on here with grants like this. So it's good to see that other people besides the norm, Nikki Haley, Scott Pruitt, and a few others that we've mentioned, who seem to have a better understanding of how the climate works and where it's heading. It's good to see more people in our government who are now questioning, hey, propaganda is one thing, and if you want to pay for that out of your pocket or have a nonprofit organization fundraiser or whatever, that's you can do whatever you want, but not when it comes to American tax dollars, especially when we the people are the ones funding this brainwashing that the mainstream media is doing. And one more quick article here. This one's important because I can see where the liberal media, global warming people will jump up and down. Now I can hear it now. Now Trump's just being irresponsible. Even the person that wrote this article, John Schwartz, had a little issue with this at the bottom, and I want to read you what he says. and then I'm going to tell you why. It says here, limiting NOAA's, pro-stylizing about gloom and doom and tinkering with the climate data. The pause would be a better approach, in my view. He's talking about it's not a good idea. Limiting the scope of the agency to data collection and short-term climate forecasting, such as seasonal outlooks done by regular CPC, would probably be a better strategy. We will still need collection data, and we'll still need these short-term climate forecasts and wide variety. He writes, while this no doubt has climate warriors in a tizzy, who'll likely be screaming and protesting soon, I'll have to agree and say that a total removal of climate from NOAA mission is probably not a good idea. Okay, that's not what's happening. I'm not smart, I don't know it all, but from what I understand, and it's important here because this is what they're doing. Quickly from the story itself, it's talking about the focus is no longer going to be man-made global warming, and they're worried because the word climate was missing from the first line. It was replaced to observe. And basically on this mission statement here in the slideshow that they just recently had, it says that to understand and predict changes in climate, weather, oceans, and coasts. They're talking about understanding, predicting ocean and atmospheric conditions. So to me, what I read from the original article was that instead of trying to tell America, NOAA that is, that man's doing all this, NOAA's main priority is going to focus more on ocean and atmospheric conditions, because this administration, these people who are making these new policies, understand what is causing this climate change. They know that it's oceans and atmospheric. It's not carbon. It's not man. It's none of that. This to me doesn't say that NOAA's no longer going to worry about climate change. It's just going to stop with just from what I've read anyway. I mean, I could be interpreting this wrong, but I didn't see it that way. The way I saw this was that they are going to focus and do more research on what is really causing the weather to do what it's doing right now. And they've got it right. It's oceans and atmospheric. It's not man. It's not man at all. We talked about how it's colder in Antarctica. We talked about how colder the waters are, the less CO2 is emitted, the less water vapor in the air. Also, those cooler temperatures. When we talk about the CDAS, East Tropical Atlantic, and it's still dropping like a rock right now. It's back down to negative 1.5 degrees Celsius. It tried to rebound a little bit on the 20th, back up to negative 1. It peaked in the last 3 months, early May, at almost baseline. It's been below baseline for the last 3 months or more. And now we're watching it plummet again. Again, ocean temps. Here's another example. More ocean temps from the Atlantic MDR. Those are also falling to negative 0.8. Ocean temps cooler atmosphere. We just showed you that one. That happens from time to the Caribbean. It spiked way up almost to baseline, and then today back down to negative 0.2. Again, this is the time of year these waters should be warming up. And then, of course, the old famous North Atlantic SST. That is back to the negative 0.590, right almost at the 0.6. I've been talking about the new baseline peaking at negative 0.4 and dropping down to negative 0.6. That seems to be the new norm since the middle of May. And it's been over a month now. So to me, this is quite some time here. The last time we peaked out in the plus was right around, the 5th of May. We've literally every day since the 7th of May, we've spent below baseline on the North Atlantic. And we were below that before that too, and it got above baseline April 16th, April 30th, like it should. We thought things were going to level back out. And from May 1st to almost May 25th, we saw a drop in temperature of 1.2 degrees Celsius in 1 month. And now it's riding that average of negative 0.6. So again, when we go back to this article, I don't look at this as NOAA not concentrating on other things besides climate. I'm just saying they're looking at things. Okay, and there was something else to understand and predict changes in weather, climate notions. And they also put things like the presentation also included a new emphasis to protect lives and property, empower the economy, and support homeland and national security. To protect lives and property. That to me tells me that this administration, but anyway, I showed you all those cold water temperatures and still no action in the Gulf as of today. And we kind of look at the Euro models here. Last night we saw some severe weather breaking out across Kansas into Oklahoma. Today the severe outbreak is going to be across Ohio into Tennessee into Kentucky, and then by Wednesday evening this storm system will race through the Northeast into upstate New York by Thursday. Some lingering showers all the way through Thursday in the western New York area before this system races off. But look at another storm system just north of us going into Canada, and it looks like the Pacific is having no problems whatsoever putting storms together left and right. But here we get to the 30th, and I was watching something here in the Gulf, in the Honduras, Nicaragua area, and it kind of just fizzles out. Nothing organized appears to be approaching the Gulf. Now, there is some moisture that will be associated from the Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf, but nothing organized as far as a tropical depression or a tropical storm. Boy, that hurricane out in the East Pacific, though, sure gets pretty intense. Very well organized. Thankfully, that storm will form. I think that's Daniel, by the way. And from what I read earlier, I was going to read the actual headline tonight, but it is not going to impact land, so I thought I'd just mention it during the weather part of this forecast. And then looking at GFS, like I said in the last couple broadcasts, the South, the East, the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, we're going to see plenty of rain chances, especially in the end of June, into July, and carrying out just like we've seen this so far in June, where it looks like a lot of different regions in the East, in the Mid-Atlantic, in the South, Southeast, and the Northeast all get a fair amount of moisture, leaving out the Northwest, which they had some incredible looking skies just the other night, a lightning show that filled up the sky. Same in Texas. They've seen a lot of severe weather. So a lot of natural fireworks going off in the skies, along with man-made coming up here in the next few days. And that's about the only thing that man affects in the sky is the actual visuals when we talk about 4th of July, celebrating our independence here in the United States, where we get to eat a lot of beef and blow things up. So looking forward to that. It does look like that we will have some summer-like temperatures for sure. I remember the last 2 years have been very disappointing for July 4th, and I just wanted to show you the high temperatures for July 4th. This is what it looks like for the majority of the United States. Except for Seattle, you guys are going to stay relatively cool, and parts of Oregon, Washington as well, but the United States, the lower 48, I'd say about 95% of us will be in the mid to upper 70s to low 80s for the most part by the 4th of July. Now, here in the Northeast is when that heat wave starts to die down a little bit, and it's right on cue. Last year, 4th of July, we were wearing hoodies, but look at the day before that. we're into the 80s and the 90s as well. So some warm weather to hit the United States, and it does feel more like summer this year than it has last year. But the only thing I can say is that after we get this really hot weather for a couple of days, especially here in the Northeast, I don't know how it's been elsewhere, but it's followed by some unseasonably cool air. And not just the temperatures, but the wind chill, the dew points, everything. I shouldn't say wind chill. I should just say when we have a breeze, it's very refreshing here in the Northeast. Again, being near Buffalo or Lake Erie, that serves as a natural air conditioning unit basically for the city of Buffalo and other cities that travel along that coast. And with that being said, I was going to check in with Miss Mari, our producer here, and our talented editor at Grand Solar Minimum. How's everything going tonight?
I just say it on the dog. He's alive. Don't worry. I'm just joking. Well, I just learned that Rob has an 8-track in one of his trucks.
Oh.
So we're going back in time. Jake, I know. Our chat has nothing to do with what you're talking about.
I'm glad that everyone's enjoying my weather reports and everything about the climate. But please do tell us more about your 8-track collection.
No, we appreciate you, Jake.
I'm kidding.
We multitask here at GSM.
Hey, we have a
GSM
Doors 8-track, Full Circle, the one that came out after Morrison's death. So we'll have to let Rob have it.
We can send it to Rob.
We can send it to Rob. We'll let him get some use out of it. But so everybody's doing good tonight in the chat?
Everyone is doing good. There's a load of awesome mods in here and awesome subscribers in here and a lot of new faces. So it's good to see new people in here. Welcome to the Grand Solar Minimum channel.
Yes, thank you guys very much for tuning in tonight. That is going to do it for us tonight. Thank you again to Mari and our subs and our mods who make this show possible and keep all the meanie heads out. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, looks like a possibility of a 2 o'clock afternoon show, as we have a couple more baseball games to go for the season and tournament next week, so it'll be all wrapped up and we'll get back to the evening schedule. But I think some people actually like it in the early afternoon, so we might have to mix it up a little bit too. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk soon.